Hello everybody, Canuck Motovlogs here, and today we're going to do our first shop talk feature, which is basically anything I do in my garage with the bikes. So this is kind of how I have my toolbox set up. I've seen a lot of videos like this, and it's just for some reason something people want to know with anybody that works with bikes or does anything mechanical. Now I'm not a mechanic. I'm a shade tree handyman is what I would like to refer to it as. But I know my way around a wrench or socket, depending on what you like to say. And here's how I set up my stuff. I use my tools quite often for various things. I do all my own vehicle maintenance whenever I can, and everything I've done on the bike has been done myself. Hasn't been touched by shop. I do all my oil changes, my accessories, everything. All my maintenance is done by me. So that being said, I do have quite a few tools I like to use, and here's how I set them up. Now, we're going to start first with the wrenches. My wrench drawer looks pretty bland, really, because I don't use them nearly as much as sockets. But in this drawer, I also like to keep my pliers. I've got the little mossy oak ones just because I like camouflage. And I have a mix between Mastercraft and Stanley Professional Series wrenches here. So I like to separate everything between Imperial and metric. Now I use mostly metric on my bike, being that it's Japanese, it's a Honda. But for my truck, being a Chevrolet Silverado, I use a good assortment, but mainly Imperial. So that's why I like to keep it here. I do love to keep doubles of some things because most of the more popular fasteners, like the wrenches that are used most, sometimes one size does not fit all in length. Like you can't get a long wrench like that into everywhere. So I like to keep a little shorter one of the same. Like see, we've got 2/5/8 here, 2/11/16. I do have another 3/4, but I like to keep that with the truck just because it's a very very common size. I keep that in my main carry toolbox, and I like to keep different kinds of pliers basically, and I like to do all my own electrical work too. So I've got a set of wire cutters and with a little crimper there. I usually keep it like that. Now this is the important one. This is my socket drawer. So as the way you see here, it's all organized. It all has a place, and if anything goes missing, I freak out. Again, I have a mix here between Mastercraft. I have a couple SK tools. I have some Stanley. I have some Husky. It's a good mix, but every tool has its use. So here we're going to start up in the top left corner with my deep sockets. So for this section, I like to keep all the deep sockets up top, starting from smallest in the middle to the outside on both sides. To the right side, I like to keep metric. If you notice, every label is up. Left side, metric, because I use it most. Right side, Imperial. And it's the same all the way down. If you notice, I've got the shallow sockets, or regular, for my, I believe, yeah. Okay, so that's the way I keep 3/8 ratchets. So it goes 3/8, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. That's how I keep it. Nothing moves, nothing changes. If it leaves, it goes right back, and I know where everything goes. It always alternates. Deep, shallow, deep, shallow. Imperial, metric. I do keep a little couple specialty items in here. So I've got a 3/8 drive universal joint here. I like to keep that right under the shallow 3/8, and I have 1.5 million extensions. I like to keep a couple variations. Got my regular rigid extensions, so you put it in and it's solid. But I also like wobble extensions. If you notice, they have a little ball on the end there. That's just how it just gives you a little bit more flexibility. Now it goes the exact same way as I've got my sockets or my ratchets. I've got my little 1/4 inch drive, Stanley Professional Series pair head ratchet, and all its extensions. That entire little section there is 1/4 inch drive extensions. Next, I've got my 3/8 drive. So for one of my main ratchets, I use an old SK USA ratchet. So it used to be one of the bigger tool brands, kind of like Snap-on and Mac and all that. So it's an extremely high quality ratchet. It just sounds like quality, and it is. It really is. It's an old one. I use that constantly. And for my next ratchet, the one I like to beat on a little bit if I have to, I've got my Stanley Professional Series. Same as the little 1/4 inch drive. It's another pair head one. And all its extensions are in the same way. Now we get up to the 1/2 inch drive. I don't use this one nearly as much. I mainly just use the 3/8 and the odd time for the smaller stuff, a 1/4. But occasionally you do have a big torque job, and that's why I have this. I've got my 3/4 inch drive. It's a big ratchet. Let's twist that a bit. Right beside the, why do I get that mixed up all the time? To the right of that, the 3/4 inch drive, I have all its extensions. Starting here, I only have a couple extensions for it, but they're more than what you need. Either you got a little stubby guy, like this little 3-inch extender, a little bigger, 5-inch, and then we've got this behemoth. I believe this is a 10-inch. Yeah, 10-inch 1/2 inch drive extension. Like, that is massive. That's for getting deep down with bolts. And just in case I want to take the sockets I need, if I'm working on the bike and I don't want to be right beside the toolbox, if I want to do it outside, I keep a couple different socket rails, one for each drive, just in case I want to bring the more important sockets with me and work on the driveway. This isn't an indoor shop. Well, it is indoor, but it's not a attached garage. It's an old drive shed. It's an old farmhouse. So that's what I like to use, because it's nice and open. It holds everything. Like, I've got all my crap in here. And I also have my little toolbox here. This is the stuff I take on the go when I have to. I'll just transfer most of my tools over to it when I need to. And I also have some stubby wrenches I like to keep up here, because if I ever need a wrench quick, they're all right here, from biggest to smallest. Imperial, metric. And I also have a little Stanley screwdriver rack there. And up here I keep all the various fluids, like tire sealant, some extra motorcycle oil. That's why I run on my Honda Castrol. Brake fluid, chain lube, again for the bike, WD-40, gear oil, basically whatever you have a use for. And that's basically it. For the shop, it's an old outdoor shop, so it never had electricity, but we've put electricity to it. And because it's such an old building, we don't use regular incandescent bulbs. We use these smart bulbs. Like, they quite literally don't heat up. You can touch them, you can drop them, they won't set fire. Like, they're cold burning bulbs. They're easily 3 times brighter than incandescent. So that's my setup. That's what I use. Let's get out riding. Have a good day.